Everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to this discussion of our Community Wildfire Safety Program and what we're doing to keep our customers and communities safe. My name is Tom Smith, and I'm the Senior Manager for PG&E's Customer Engagement and Strategy Team. I'll be moderating our webinar from my home here in Amador County. We're here to share information about what we're doing to reduce wildfire risk and make our communities safer every day. We want to make sure you have an opportunity to ask questions and give us your feedback. First, a few things to keep in mind for this presentation. We have an option to receive this information in American Sign Language. You can access the translation by clicking the link that was just provided in the chat. The presentation will be approximately 30 minutes with time for questions and answers at the end. If you would like to ask a question, please submit it at any time in that chat. If you're not able to get to your question today, please feel free to reach us at our dedicated email address for this program, wildfiresafety@pge.com, or you can use the email address provided in the chat, and we'll respond promptly. We'll be recording today's presentation and posting it along with slides on our website, pge.com/webinars. And with that, we're going to start this webinar as we start all of our meetings at PG&E with a quick moment on safety. So as we've seen this winter and spring and head into the wildfire season, we encourage everyone to prepare for natural disasters or emergencies by building a disaster supply kit for you, your family, or your business. You want to make sure to include food, water, medication, flashlights, first aid kits, a list of emergency contacts, and more tools to keep you safe. For more information on how to prepare for an emergency, visit safetyactioncenter.pge.com. Now that we're off to a safe start, we can discuss our agenda. So today, we're going to talk about how we identify and reduce wildfire risk, how our work to reduce that wildfire risk happens in our Community Wildfire Safety Program. And in that, we're going to talk about the wildfire safety work in your community, including undergrounding, overhead system hardening, vegetation management, and situational awareness. We're also going to talk about our enhanced power line safety settings and public safety power shutoff programs. Next, we're going to talk about customer resources and programs that can help support you. And then we're going to have time for a Q&A after that. So next, I would like to introduce you to our PG&E team. Joining me tonight is Ron Richardson, our Regional Vice President of the North Coast Region, Austin Sharp, the Regional Senior Manager of the North Coast Region, Mark Van Gorder, our Local Government Affairs Representative, and we also have experts from a few departments to help with any specific questions during our open Q&A portion of this meeting. So now let's discuss our Community Wildfire Safety Program and how we're working hard to lower the risk of wildfire in your community. I'd like to turn the presentation over to Austin Sharp, your Senior Manager of the North Coast. Take it away, Austin.
All right, thank you, Tom. Hi, everyone. My name is Austin Sharp. I am the Senior Manager of the North Coast Region, and I work for Ron Richardson, the Regional Vice President, who will be joining us a little bit later. So the first step in making your community safer is to identify where wildfire risk is the greatest. Our high fire risk area map provides us with an understanding of exactly where risk exists in Napa and Marin counties. I believe everyone can see the maps up here on the screen, and you can see that large portions of Marin and Napa are in high fire threat districts. And what's very important for us is to understand exactly where the risk is the highest, where we can do the most work that provides the most benefit to our wildfire safety programs, and make sure that we're being as targeted and safe as possible in doing this work. So we'll talk a little bit about more of that tonight. We'll talk about some of those strategies. And we'll also talk about how, when we've identified these risks, how we target our work in the highest risk areas. So we launched our Community Wildfire Safety Program in 2018 to help keep customers and communities safe in the face of growing wildfire risk around our state. Over the past 5 years, we have made significant progress in making our system safer for our customers. We are preventing wildfires by strengthening the system with stronger poles and covered power lines, by keeping trees a safe distance from power lines, by undergrounding 10,000 miles of power lines, and by implementing public safety power shutoffs as a tool of last resort when people's safety, lives, homes, and businesses may be in danger of wildfires. We are reducing the impact of outages by making safety settings even smarter and using new technologies to better target our safety work. We are providing resources more effectively by sharing additional information through online tools, expanding support for our most vulnerable and highly impacted customers, and exploring new partnerships with community-based organizations. We are working hard to reduce the risk, but we know that we have a lot more to do. Since launching our community wildfire and safety program, our efforts have eliminated 90% of wildfire risk from our system. Our wildfire prevention work includes regular, ongoing inspections and patrols to help keep trees a safe distance from power lines. We inspect approximately 100,000 miles of overhead power lines across our service territory every year, with some places inspected many times a year. We have also improved the way we monitor, forecast, and respond to wildfire risk. We have built our own network of high-definition cameras and weather stations to better predict and respond to severe weather threats. We are making progress every day on our commitment to strengthen our poles, cover power lines, and underground 10,000 miles of power lines in high fire risk areas as part of our multi-year goal. While we rebuild the system over the next several years, we are also taking immediate steps to keep customers safe by turning off power during severe weather to help prevent wildfires. We know that losing power disrupts lives. Through advanced technology, including enhanced safety settings on power lines and devices that separate the grid into smaller sections, we are lessening the impact wildfire safety power outages have on our customers. The solutions we have put in place have already made the system safer, and we will continue to work every day to deliver safe and reliable energy to our hometowns. In this next section, we'll discuss new work to improve reliability and lower the risk of wildfire in your community. So first is keeping trees away from power lines. Our work to minimize wildfires never stops. We will continue working with your community to manage and keep trees a safe distance from power lines. We do this by inspecting about 100,000 miles of overhead power lines per year, prune or cut down more than 1 million trees that are unsafe, address dead, dying, and hazard trees, and do more trimming in places that have had a high volume of vegetation-caused outages. Together, this work reduces wildfire risk, improves reliability for our customers, and makes our electric system stronger. We conduct vegetation work across our service area to keep trees a safe distance from power lines. In non-high fire threat districts, we work year-round to meet state standards and maintain a minimum of 1.5 feet clearance around the lines. In high fire threat districts, we complete the same year-round work and do additional inspections and tree pruning or removals to keep greater clearances and lower wildfire risk. This includes maintaining a minimum 4-foot clearance around the lines and removing trees that pose a safety concern. Because of our work, you may see PG&E and contractor trucks and crews in your neighborhood to keep trees and brush away from the electric lines and equipment. For more information on our vegetation management work, you can visit pge.com/trees. We are committed to partnering with our customers and communities on this important safety work. If any safety work is planned on your property, you can expect to hear from us ahead of time, either by text message or email. You might see crews conducting inspections, which include PG&E or contract inspectors looking at trees or shrubs to identify any safety concerns, doing tree work like trimming or removing trees that were identified as a safety concern during inspections, or making safety and quality checks, which include crews performing follow-up inspections to make sure our work meets required safety standards. Talk a little bit about overhead system hardening in Napa and Marin counties. We are reducing wildfire risk by strengthening poles and covering power lines. We call this overhead system hardening. Over the past 5 years, we've completed 79 overhead system hardening line miles in Napa County and 9 overhead system hardening line miles in Marin County. We are currently working towards an overhead system hardening project totaling less than 1 mile in Napa County, and we do not have any additional projects planned for Marin County. This system hardening work will happen in the highest fire threat areas, so we can help reduce the risk of wildfire, enhance long-term safety, especially during times of high fire threat, significantly improve reliability during winter weather, and in certain cases, reduce the impacts of public safety power shutoffs. For situational awareness in Napa and Marin counties, in 2022, we reached our goal of installing 600 total high-definition cameras, allowing us the ability to see more than 90% of the high fire risk areas we serve. Our Hazard Awareness and Warning Center monitors and uses the cameras to help prevent and respond to wildfires. In 2022, we installed 4 weather stations and 3 high-definition cameras in Napa County and 4 weather stations and 3 high-definition cameras in Marin County. You can also see cameras and stations installed in areas surrounding both counties. For undergrounding 10,000 miles of our electric system, we are committed to a multi-year goal of hitting that 10,000 miles of power lines undergrounded in high fire risk areas across our entire system because it is the best long-term solution for keeping customers and communities safe. The benefits of undergrounding is that A, it is the most effective tool in reducing wildfire risk. B, placing overhead power lines underground reduces ignition risks by approximately 99% at that location. And C, undergrounding also limits future safety power outages, improves system reliability, and decreases the need for future tree work. Undergrounding also helps lower ongoing maintenance and vegetation management costs. So in identifying these underground miles, we're prioritizing the undergrounding in areas where we can have the greatest impact on reducing wildfire risk and wildfire safety related power outages. So in Napa and Marin counties, you can see a map of completed and planned undergrounding work in and around your community. In 2022, we completed 5 miles of undergrounding in Napa County and 1 mile of undergrounding in Marin County. We are currently working towards projects totaling 12 additional underground miles in Napa County and 1 additional undergrounding mile in Marin County. Building and expanding our electric system underground will not only strengthen the electric system and help reduce wildfires caused by equipment, but it will also help to reduce the number of outages caused by enhanced power line safety settings or public safety power shutoffs. Maps of undergrounding work throughout our service area and more program information can be found at pg.com/undergrounding. Before moving on from undergrounding, I'll also note that these forecasts can change, especially given the long lead time that undergrounding projects require for planning and construction, and that we will continue to share updated details related to undergrounding work in the future. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Tom now to talk about our wildfire safety outages. Tom?
Great, thanks, Austin. So next, we're going to be sharing more about potential wildfire safety outages and important updates for this year. So first, let's talk about EPSS. In 2021, we implemented more sensitive safety settings on power lines. These advanced safety settings automatically turn off the power within 1/10 of a second to help stop wildfires before they have a chance to start. In 2022, we expanded our enhanced power line safety settings to every customer who lives in a high fire risk area. And we also consistently observed elevated wildfire risk across 2022. Despite this fact, there was a 68% reduction in reportable ignitions and a 99% reduction in ignition impact, meaning that nearly all the fires that were started were smaller and impacted less acres, despite very dry conditions. If power is turned off due to a hazard, we must then check the line for damage. So patrols are either done on the ground or in the air by our crews. And while these settings do make our electric system safer, we understand that customers may experience unplanned power outages. We're working hard to improve reliability across our electric grid without sacrificing safety. So some of the steps that we're doing to improve reliability include reviewing potential outages for the cause and possible solutions to those causes, installing fault indicators to help patrol crews identify where the hazard is, like a tree branch striking the line, and then being able to safely restore that power more quickly with that visual inspection tool. Installing line reclosers. Those allow us to quickly de-energize power lines when a problem is detected and re-energize power lines when it's safe. We're conducting targeted vegetation management to make sure trees and branches aren't too close to power lines, and installing animal guards to protect lines from hazards that can cause an outage. We're also adjusting the sensitivity of these safety settings, installing sectionalizing devices to limit the number of customers impacted, and even temporarily transferring some customers to different circuits to further decrease the impact of those outages. So 100% of the electric service in the high fire risk areas in Napa and Marin counties are protected by these enhanced safety settings during times when the wildfire risk is high. After an outage occurs on an EPSS protected line, our patrol crews work to identify the outage cause before they repair damage and restore power. So they're going to try and find that tree branch or find that fault or the issue that was out there in the field. We're going to do a detailed outage review to identify causes and opportunities to further improve that reliability. Our review process helps us determine what steps we can take to minimize this impact of outages and improve customer service. So here on this slide or on this graph here, you can see the identified causes of outages for customers in both Napa and Marin counties that you may have experienced from 2021 to 2023. And as you can see, animals are the largest cause of outages in the area. Undetermined causes could be the result of something like a branch or an animal that contacted the power line, and then we're unable to locate that. You can imagine a branch falling on a line and then down onto the ground, how difficult that may be, at night or in a heavily vegetated area. Sometimes these hazards, as I said, are no longer visible. So we're doing our best to try and find those and get to the source of them. Let's go to the next one. So let's talk about reliability. We're very committed to keeping customers protected from wildfires, but we're also committed to delivering reliable energy. Every step of the way, we're improving our efforts to keep the electricity turned on without sacrificing safety. We're aware that some customers in Napa and Marin experience multiple outages, and PG&E is working hard to reduce those impacts, both in the number of outages and the overall length of those service interruptions. We understand how difficult it can be to lose power at your home or business. After outages occurred, our team conducted detailed multi-outage reviews to assess those common outage causes and find ways to reduce the impact on your home and business. Through this review process, we have identified a lot of ways to improve reliability. And in 2022, we did many of the things that I talked about above, which is installing fault indicators, adjusting the settings, installing bird and animal guards to keep them safely away from the power lines, and did targeted vegetation management, trimming a lot of trees near the power lines. Although some areas did see challenges with reliability, I want to stress that 80% of customers across our service territory experienced 2 or fewer outages while being protected by EPSS in 2022. Let's go on to the next slide. So let's talk for a second about the differences between safety settings and PSPS. So we conduct daily analysis of each circuit to determine the wildfire risk and whether safety settings are needed to protect the customers in the community. If conditions don't meet the need, EPSS is disabled to prevent an unnecessary outage. And so right now, outside of fire season, and obviously we've had plenty of rain and plenty of moisture out there, we're going to activate EPSS later in the year when we have a high combination of sustained wind speed, low relative humidity, and dead fuel moisture. Because every weather situation is unique, we're going to carefully review the combination of those factors when deciding if we have to turn power off for a public safety power shutoff, or PSPS. So those factors include low humidity levels, again, forecast of high winds, particularly sustained winds above 19, 20 miles an hour, red flag warnings, and some condition of dry material. So think of a lot of dead grass, bushes, flashy fuels, as they like to call them, and low moisture content. And then lastly, real-time ground observations from our Hazardous Awareness and Warning Center and from our crews across the service territory. So because those EPSS-enabled power lines are automatic and the outages on those, we're not able to provide advance notice. However, customers can expect automated calls, texts, and email about when their power will be back. And after that initial notification, that's when the crews are going to go out and assess those power lines and turn that equipment back on when safe, as well as providing an estimated time for when the power will be restored after the patrol, or if there's any damage, the repairs are made. And then, of course, once those power is restored, we'll send a notification to all of our customers. And then the PSPS notifications, those are a little different. Those are going to be provided to our agency partners and customers during key milestones, such as somewhere between 24 to 48 hours before the power is turned off and 1 to 4 hours before the power is turned off, as well as the de-energization time when the power is actually shut off, and then when weather has passed and we're able to get back out and restore that power. These notifications are provided via call, text, or email, both day and night as needed. And so for customers who are not PG&E account holders or want to receive notifications for another location, In addition to their primary residence, we have something called address alerts, which are available in 16 languages via phone call or text. And we encourage customers to review their contact information we have on file by visiting pge.com/mywildfirealerts. And don't worry about writing all these down. We'll make sure to get a lot of these links in the chat for you. I understand we've thrown out a lot of web links this afternoon, so we'll make sure to get those in the chat for you all. We also provide public safety power shutoff updates at pge.com to local news and radio outlets and through social media channels. So for more information on the status of any outage and the restoration process, you can always visit pge.com/outages. All right, so let's quickly move over to discussing public safety power shutoffs, or PSPS. So as I talked about earlier, high winds can cause tree branches and debris to contact energized electric lines, damage our equipment, and cause a wildfire. And as a result, we may need to turn off power during severe weather to help prevent wildfires. This is called a public safety power shutoff, or PSPS. We initiate PSPS when the weather is forecasted to be so severe that people's safety, lives, homes, and businesses may be in danger of wildfires. For the safety of our customers and community, PSPS continues to be a necessary tool as a last resort during severe weather. Of course, every wildfire season is different, and the ongoing drought and conditions will determine the number of times we need to shut off power. Being that we've had so much rain this year, what things will look like this fall remains to be seen, but we will be reviewing and looking at everything as we go to ensure the safety of all. So now I'm going to turn it over to Mark Van Gorder, who's going to talk more about our resources available in your community. Thanks. Take it away, Mark.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much, Tom. Hello, everyone, and thanks again for participating in this webinar. I am Mark Van Gorder, and in Napa and Marin counties, I communicate and coordinate with local elected officials and city, town, and county staff. So clearly, power outages have a significant impact on individuals and our communities. And in the following slides, I'm going to share various resources available to help during those outages. As Tom mentioned, there's just a ton of information that we're providing here, and don't feel the need to write down the links that I'm going to share with you on these slides. We'll be providing a lot of that information to you, and just thank you again for being here. So if we go to the next slide, when we talk about when we're in the middle of a public safety power shutoff, we set up and open community resource centers. Those centers offer a safe location for people to meet basic power needs. When we talk about basic power needs, we're talking about charging medical equipment and other electronic devices that help you to stay in touch with your family or stay up to date on the news or information, and most likely the weather. Water, snacks, other essential items are available at those centers. And you can also get regular updates about the planned safety outage. And to find the nearest community resource center during a public safety power shutoff, just check the website on this slide. It's pge.com/CRC for Community Resource Center. If you looked at that link right now, you won't see any open community resource centers because we don't have any planned power shutoffs. It would only be when you start to get the notifications that we may have one that you would find information there about open community resource centers. And all of the community resource locations shown on this slide may not be open during a public safety power shutoff. So the location and decisions to set up and open those centers often depend on weather prediction models, whether or not it's going to be more in the Napa area versus the Marin area or on the coast. So you just stay tuned if you get that message, and then you can go to that link and find where we may have those. Next, we're going to talk about our disability and disaster access resources. Safety at PG&E is our top priority, and nothing is more important than helping people who are at increased risk of harm to their health during a public safety power shutoff. And that's why we're working with the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers and participating disability disaster access and resource centers to provide the support before and during public safety power shutoffs. So what does that mean? That includes hotel stays, food stipends, and transportation as needed for eligible customers with access and functional needs. So what we're really saying is if you or another member of your household depend on electricity for medical needs, we encourage you to reach out to your local disability disaster access and resource centers prior to a public safety power shutoff for assistance in pre-planning. And of course, if you don't have the opportunity to do that in advance, we encourage you to use this information and reach out to them during an event. So please use the link on this page, Disability Disaster Access Resources. We've shortened it to DDAR. You'll see contact information there. If you scroll down, you'll find our partner with Marin Center for Independent Living and serving Napa residents, the Disability Services and Legal Center. Next, I'll talk a bit about this portable battery program you may have heard about. As part of our portable battery program and the Disability Disaster Access and Resource Program, we provide portable battery solutions to customers as well as refrigeration for medications. And in 2023, we have some changes to our backup program for power that include increased funding and expansion eligibility for the generator and battery rebate program. Now that's for customers living in Tier 2 and Tier 3 high fire threat districts and or are served by the circuits protected by enhanced power line safety settings, which we covered just a little bit earlier. We've also expanded eligibility for the portable battery program. And this program is available for medical baseline and self-identified vulnerable customers with assistive technology or durable medical equipment who experienced at least one public safety power shutoff in 2021 or 5 or more outages on an enhanced power safety setting protected circuit in 2022. For more information about that, again, please visit the link here, pg.com portable battery, for more information about eligibility. Last year, PG&E developed a meter design to help our customers use backup power during emergency outages. And these meters provide a safe and convenient way to connect portable generator power to your home in just a few minutes. The program is free to PG&E customers located in high fire threat districts and or again served by enhanced power line safety setting circuits, which we discussed earlier. For more information about that, please check out the transfer meter link here at the bottom of the slide again. We also offer financial incentives for eligible customers through the Self-Generation Incentive Program. You'll hear people talk about this as SGIP, but for now we'll call it the Self-Generation Incentive Program. This program offers rebates to save on energy storage for your home or business. So whether an outage is planned or unplanned, a battery provides backup power and potentially could reduce your energy costs. So it's an added benefit. If you're interested, for more information, check out pgd.com, SGIP, S-G-I-P. I want to thank you again for being here tonight, for taking the time out to learn about our programs and why we are doing everything we can to help make you safe. I'll now hand the microphone back to you, Tom, to share more customer resources and lead the question and answer time of our meeting together. Tom?
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. All right, wait for the little box. There's the box. All right, I'm on camera. Along with the resources that we've discussed today, we've got additional information available for you. So more customer resources and information about our wildfire safety efforts can be found at pg.com/wildfire safety. And to support our customers who rely on power for health and safety, we're partnering with the California network of 211s to provide help when it's needed the most. So 211 is a free confidential calling and texting service that provides 24/7 connections to local residents. and connections to local resources, and assists with emergency preparedness planning to minimize the hardships that may be caused by any safety outage. Our Report It Safety app, down in the bottom left corner there, provides an opportunity for all customers to report and submit photos of non-emergency safety concerns directly to us. So if you see something out there, you can snap a picture. You see that leaning pole, you see a tree, you see something that concerns you, take a picture, send it to us. We'll respond. You can prepare for wildfire season by visiting safetyactioncenter.pg.com to find videos and information about customer support, safety programs, preparedness tips, and more for wildfire season. And so with that, that concludes the presentation, and we're going to transition over to the Q&A portion of today's event. So as a reminder, we're going to have this entire presentation posted to the PG&E website at pge.com/webinars in the coming days, along with a recording. And throughout the presentation, we've received several great questions from all of you listening in. You can ask a question, again, by submitting in the Q&A box via the chat. And we're going to do our best. It looks like we have quite a bit of time, so we should be able to get to all the questions. But if we're not able to get to your question today, please reach out to the dedicated email address that's in the chat currently for the North Coast area, I believe, and we'll respond promptly. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So first question, we're going to start with a vegetation management question. And so I'm going to turn this one over to Daniel. And Daniel is with our vegetation management group. And the question is, what can be done to have the tree crews do more to appropriately trim the trees? I've seen several trees trimmed to meet PG&E safety requirements, yet the trimming has unbalanced the trees, and in cases with recent storms causes hazards. So can you tell us more about the trimming standards and what we do out there to ensure safety?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question, team, and thank you for having me tonight. So while we do not trim trees for aesthetics, it's important to understand that most trees have uneven canopies to begin with, right? Especially in dense areas where trees are competing for light and resources. In many cases, removing additional limbs to balance a tree may ultimately result in too much canopy loss, resulting in a dead tree or a hazard on your property. Additionally, crews working on vegetation management are working to ANSI 300 national standards, specifically 5.3.6, which states that tree branches shall be removed in such a manner so as to not cause damage to any other parts of the tree, or in this example, killing it. It is a difficult balance to mitigate hazards and grow-ins while also minimizing impact to customer trees and property. But if there are any specific locations of concern, please call 1-800-PGE-5000 to open a trackable case ticket, and we'll help you resolve this issue. Hopefully that could answer your question.
Great, thanks, Daniel. Okay, the next question we have is on undergrounding. And so for this, I'm going to turn it to Ron. Welcome, Ron. First time on camera here tonight, so welcome. Okay. Thanks for joining and taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you were in meetings just a little bit ago, so thanks for joining. Ron, the question is, how do customers find out more about undergrounding plans and understand what our plans are for undergrounding in Napa and Marin counties?
So it's a great question, and thank you, Tom, and good afternoon, everybody. And I appreciate for everybody to be on the call this afternoon. As you heard earlier in the, I believe it was 1 mile for Marin County, and I forget what we said exactly for Napa. But as you guys know, those miles are small right now. It's not a whole lot. But it really was about is making sure we do those right miles. Right now, we're looking at a lot of different information and technologies to making sure that we're going to the right places. Like for example, some of those places we're going to is when you think about the Porter Creek area, and that's right on the backside of the Tubbs Fire. And what we're looking at those situations is like, if we do have a spark, where's those spots that we know for sure that we need to go after. So when I think about, what a 10-year plan looks like, that is still being developed. We're developing, we call it in tranches. And we're just making sure right now, before we really increase those miles, we're picking the right miles. There'll be more presentations later this year to discuss some of the underground miles. And something else that this team does is we go out to the local communities. Instead of doing like this webinar on Teams, we're also looking for those opportunities to actually get inside the community and share more about the undergrounding for 2023 in the future.
All right, thanks, Ron. Okay, I'm going to stay with you, Ron, on this one. And it's just a general question about safety. Is it safe to run a generator during a PSPS event?
So generator safety is something dear to my heart. My background, I'm an ex-lineman, an ex-troubleman, and a generator hooked up improperly can make things dangerous for you, your community, your neighbors, and it also make it very dangerous for us. So what I ask you to do is please make sure you're following the guidelines of how to hook up a generator. You never want to be hooking it into like a socket in your house. You want to make sure if you're using like a generator, it's in a safe area where it can vent. You also want to make sure like you're just plugging that into appliances. Mark Van Gorder also showed like a style where there's a way to connect to the meter. And I believe we have stuff also. Mark, maybe jump in here too. I know there's a section on our website for generator safety that people might be able to go to.
Yeah, can we jump back maybe in the slides, Noah?
Yeah, I think you're talking about the transfer meter.
Yes.
Yep, that's right. And so if people want to get more information about the transfer meter, they just go to www.pg.com/transfer meter.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you both. Okay, one other question now. We've got a new one on undergrounding. Let's stay with you, Ron, here for this is if we could go to the map that we have and pull up that slide. We're going to jump around here to make sure we get people the right context. The question is, will the whole green area on the map, which is I believe the high fire risk area, I think it's the other one, be affected by the time undergrounding is done? So essentially, will all areas be undergrounded?
Yeah. So I'm not for sure if I fully understand the question, and I apologize. But here's what I would say is it's not just because you're in a high fire threat area, it doesn't mean that the whole area is going to be undergrounded. We're going to go through targeted areas. So when you think about 10,000 miles, that's not going to cover all the HFRA areas. And again, we're going to be going after those areas like in a mile, half mile, sometimes even larger, but it's really going after those areas where we see the most risk.
Yeah, and one other thing to call out here, I think Sarah, you have it flipped there. So the orange areas on this screen are your high fire risk areas. The green areas are your more low-lying areas along the freeway corridors. But the high fire risk area in this diagram actually is the orange, is depicted in orange. So as you can see, Marin and Napa have a lot of high fire risk area inside these counties.
And Tom, and thanks for clarifying that. And again, that doesn't mean that everything in that area would be undergrounded in the 10 years.
Thanks, Ron.
I don't know if I can add one more comment there.
Sure, go ahead, Mark.
And I think we mentioned this, but it comes up very frequently. There's a thought that if we're not undergrounding, that we're not doing anything. So I just want to reinforce and reemphasize. I think we said it earlier on. There are a number of other projects that go beyond the undergrounding. So we're adding in coated wire. We're adding in animal guards. We're adding stronger poles and performing other work with larger cross arms. There's just a ton of other work that's going on. So I just don't want there to be the thought that if PG is not undergrounding, we're not performing work to make it safe in all of these high fire threat areas. And then sometimes the undergrounding is just very challenging, given the terrain and whether it's really rocky areas and such. So lots of work is still happening every single day to make things safe, even if it's not being undergrounded.
Well said, Mark.
Thank you for that additional comment there, Mark. All right, I'm trying to see from my moderator if there's any new questions. Okay, Ron, I'm gonna go to this question that right now is to get ready for wildfire safety, and being that we're obviously, hopefully wildfire season doesn't start quite as early as it did last year, definitely with all the wet weather that we're getting. So what would you want to share with customers about how they can prepare and what you would want them to know and remember as we go into this wildfire season?
I think the very first thing I would say that would help us out is, again, I know we talked about the Reported app. If you see something, report it to us, please, and we'll get back to you. We'll send in a first responder out there to just make sure the situation's safe. Your feedback is key. The other thing too is making sure that you have a plan. I think like your just own personal safety. And, at my house, I live in Mendocino County, and, we have also a plan that if something does happen where we have to evacuate, how do we evacuate? Where do we go? And also I think about defensible space is such a key, opportunity to make sure that you're able to protect your home and your belongings. So, that's probably the main things that I have for everybody is, always have a plan. Don't let this winter weather think that we're out of it. And again, we are not. And the one thing that I can remember growing up is when you had wet winters, you had a lot of grass, a lot of tall grass. And sooner or later, that grass is going to dry out. So what I ask for everybody too is do not get complacent. We are still in a situation where if we, see the high winds and when things dry out in September and October, we are still going to be in the middle of possibility of a catastrophic wildfire. And we always have to be prepared.
Thank you so much, Ron. Yeah, very important. So now I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball here, which is a little bit of a tougher question, Ron. But why is the emphasis of mitigation practices on chasing problems rather than predicting them before incipient failures become ignitions? So I think the question the customer's asking is, PG&E, what are you doing to get out in front of things before they start? And can you share a little bit more? And I think that's really what we've been talking about today. But Ron, is there anything more that you can share on how you're leading your organization to, adapt to changing conditions and being able to respond to really our aggressive wildfire plan for this year?
Yeah, and I'll take a shot at that. It's a great question. And I get the question too, right? It's like, we have a wildfire mitigation plan now. Why didn't we have that plan 5, 7, 8 years ago? I totally understand that. The one concept that PG&E is bringing to life right now is called a lean concept. And it's really, really trying to get to the lowest level of the company to make sure that we're bubbling up issues so we can try to go solve them. A lot of times what you'll find out when you go talk to a large organization like us is, people knew about problems and didn't know how to get those bubbled up. And today, like for myself, I hold a call at 8:45 with a cross-functional team all the way across North Coast. And we talk about some of the issues. We talk about issues about wildfire. We talk about our reliability scores. We talk about service planning and connecting our customers to the grid. Not all of them are solved at 8:45, but at least we get those discussions going to where we start creating teams to go work on it. From there, it starts for us at 8:45 in the morning, and we end those calls around 10:30, and they get all the way to the top of our company. They get those conversations all the way from the bottom, get all the way up to Patty Poppy before the day ends to make sure that we have visibility and we're trying to solve for those issues.
Great. Thank you, Ron. And I definitely attest the lean management system is working. We're seeing some great strides in making sure that the right people are getting the right information, and then there's still enough time to get all the work done. So it's working very well. All right, let's see if we have any other questions here.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
If I could, I'd also like to just comment that in my opinion, and I've lived in Napa and Sonoma County, and I've worked in Marin now for about 50 years. So, a pretty good long time. And I have never seen anything like the weather conditions that we have faced over the last, just since about 2015. And, taking a look at some research online, the globe, some may deny it or not like it, but the globe is warming. On average, the temperature is going up. In 2000 centigrade, we went about 1 Celsius over mean globally. And you're seeing the bark beetle and dying and dead and dying trees more than ever that I can recall. And it's just I think we're trying to catch up to climate change that's happening and catching us pretty fast. So there's just some things that I don't know that a lot of scientists would have predicted how quickly all of this is coming on us, and I think we're moving fast to catch up to Mother Nature.
Great points, Mark. Regardless of the controversies around what some people may feel about climate change, and regardless of that, things are changing. The weather is changing. We're seeing more extreme events, and we're having to respond to them. So great points. Thank you. All right. So I do not see any other questions. And so at this point, I think we're going to move to close. So Ron, I'm going to throw it over to you. Any closing words for all folks out there as we go into the end of the webinar here?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And first of all, I just want to appreciate people taking the time this evening to jump on a call with us. What's key is getting your feedback and your questions. You know, it makes us better. It makes us think differently. So again, I just want to say appreciate for all the questions, the feedback, and I continue on doing these webinars, looking for your participation to make us better. The one thing I'm hoping everybody sees is just like what you've seen. Mark kind of touched on it. You know, we went through from January 1st until the March 30th today. It's been a very busy storm season for us, and I hope that you've seen the sea of blue show up in your communities and make sure that we restored power as fast as possible and safe as possible. And I think about some of the things that happened in Marin County, that we had the Nevada slide, or our gas personnel did an unbelievable job of making sure we did not lose gas to Marin County. I worked for PG&E for 25 years, and the work that Richard Yamaguchi and our gas team has done is just remarkable. I mean, it makes me feel very proud to wear the blue on my heart. And those teams work 24/7 to make sure that we can keep the gas and keep it safe for our community. So I just want to throw that out there. But I also just want to say, I thank everybody for joining our webinar tonight. Your feedback and input is very, very important to me. But if we didn't answer a question, or maybe didn't answer that question the way you wanted us to, please reach out to wildfiresafety@pge.com. And thank you for your participation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you all.